Hello, welcome back to another Fatro video. Today, I'm gonna be switching up the content a little bit. I'm gonna be talking about A Brave New World. I'm just gonna be talking about it. I'm gonna be saying all this in my own words. I'm just gonna be giving my honest opinion about A Brave New World, how bad the book is, and we'll go from there. So, imagine a book where everything is pretty much fucked up. Not in the world building sense, but yes, in the world building sense, but also in the writing sense. Introducing A Brave New World. But before we jump into the book, I feel like we should dive into how much of a loony the person is who wrote this piece of shit. Aldous Huxley was born on July 28, 1894, and during his time being on this mortal coil we call Earth, was considered a brilliant yet controversial character. Remember this later. Huxley would have a pretty hard childhood, with him being pretty isolated. Keep this in mind as well. His mom died of cancer, and he went blind for nearly 2 years. He later regained his sight, but wasn't able to fight in World War I, nor was able to become a scientist. Later in 1916, he graduated with an English degree, which he should have never gotten, to be honest. He's just really bad, alright? I don't much like Mr. Huxley. He would later get married, have a kid named Matthew, and would make bank selling his books. Also, strangely enough, he went to California looking for a spiritual and physical enlightenment, quote unquote, which is code for doing random shit and taking drugs. By the way, this is canonical. I did not make this up. In the early 1950s, Huxley took hallucinogenic drugs so that he could reach a new level of existence. And later in the 1950s, guess what? He also released, you probably guessed it, A Brave New World. Now, I'm not going to say that Aldous Huxley made this book in between his ass cheeks, but I will. First, this guy has not talked to anyone in society. This lonely ass bitch probably guessed how people reacted and what they wanted, and made this mess of a fucking book. Second of all, the drugs definitely helped make this weird ass book. Look at this fucking book. This guy made a random book about the future, quote unquote, and for lack of better words, is sloppily put together and barely tells a narrative or properly delivers a message. This sounds very ambitious, but just by reading the first chapter, it almost becomes the biggest snooze fest and the most confusing book that was ever released in mankind. The story takes place in London, in a grey building. It basically goes on about how the building is bleak and essentially dead, but so is every other building. This is the building of the Central London Hatchery, controlled by the World State. I like to intervene and say that the book never tells you this. It only assumes that you know this. When I was reading this, I didn't, and it was fucking confusing. I was fucking confused. The World State is basically America during 1984, but without Big Brother watching you. They want everyone to conform to what they say so that they can get money for some reason. Even though I think they're the government, so why would they do this? They can just tax people, and that's the way that they could make money, but they don't do this for some reason. It barely makes any sense. Anyways, in the beginning, you follow the DHR and a couple of students. Once again, Huxley assumes that you know what a DHR is, in which I don't, or know that there were students in the scene, which I did not know as well, because they never pointed it out, or at least if they did, they only said it in one sentence and then went with it. Because most of the first chapter is just fucking device to explain everything, like if there was a fucking verb to explain that, which there is. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, it's literally just a lore dump. Huxley also assumes that you know everything that's going on in the fucking story, which 9 times out of 10, guess what? You fucking don't. Why? Because you're not the motherfucker who wrote this god-awful book. But we digress even further into this shitty book, even though we should have just dropped it the moment it was even made available to the public. What Huxley is supposed to tell the reader, which he does in a shit manner, is that people are supposed to get cloned and then conditioned to believe in the world state's beliefs. Why? I have no fucking clue. So that they could not revolt against the world state, I guess. But at the same time, what the fuck are they gonna do? And that's basically chapter 1. Anyways, in chapter 2, the DHC looks at a bunch of babies and baits them into touching books and flowers. This gets them shocked, and they cry because learning is prohibited, as if that concept wasn't done to death a million times by everything like Fahrenheit, but you know, whatever. We'll just pretend that it's an original concept. But yeah, there's also a point of the book in this chapter where they basically encourage children to have sex. Yeah, it's literally children inappropriately touching each other with the DHC's approval, which is kind of fucked up and really serves no purpose other than to say, wow, look at this society, it's so fucked up. Lamau. On this topic, they also randomly put implications of a son and mother fucking each other. For some reason, I don't fucking know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was reading one of these chapters, I guess it was just fucking not mother-daughter, son fucking. I don't know why, but it's in the book, and it's not really brought up any time. But that's not even the best of it, because as it turns out, Huxley is worse than you can ever imagine when it comes to writing. Just as you were getting comfortable with the setting of the DHC and the students learning, they then switch it up to some random ass motherfuckers for the sole purpose of having an actual story that just fucks up the reader. Out of these characters that were introduced, the only one that actually has any relevance in the fucking book is Bernard. Basically, he's like, fuck society, and says that products like Hypnodia and Soma are shit. Speaking of, so let's talk about the normal lifestyle of people. So basically, Hypnodia is something that people use when they go to sleep to condition themselves. It's basically like having an audiobook in your dreams. Then when you wake up, you're supposed to remember it, and Soma just makes you happy. So happy, in fact, that you start fucking people. This isn't a joke. This is a real book. You literally take Soma so that you can fuck people. In fact, there is literally a word for people coming together and fucking each other. Guess what it's called? I'd like you to take a wild guess. It's called an orgy porgy. You can't make this shit up. I have no idea who thought this book was good, but they should probably get out of any educational field, because it's not. My brain is broken. All right, I'm a pretty stupid guy, but you can't have me seriously believe in the concept of orgy porgy. I'm not gonna read that shit. Well, I don't know. Like, and what makes matters worse is that Huxley at the time, I suppose, was mad at Henry Ford. So do you know what he did? He wrote him into the goddamn book and made him Jesus in this nightmare of a story. And because Huxley hated helicopters at the time, everyone just has a fucking helicopter, because why not? And why think of how expensive a helicopter is? Everyone just fucking has it. And the book just stays apeshit from there. Bernard takes some chick out to Mexico and sees Native Americans, which Huxley apparently doesn't like as well, because he calls them savages. And with this encounter, meets Lenina and John the Savage, who are both white. Basically, what happened is that Bernard's boss left Lenina there, so she basically became native to this Mexican place and gave birth to John. John also has a boner for Bernard's date, which he doesn't care about because he's based, I guess, and doesn't really like his date to begin with, so I don't really know why. Bernard having a fucking girlfriend doesn't even make any sense. But Bernard basically wants to use Lenina's existence as blackmail for something in front of spectators. And he does. This crowd laughs at Bernard as boss. And that's where I stopped reading because my teacher literally didn't care about the ending of the book. Probably because of how bad it was. But apparently the book ends off with John whipping himself. Lenina whipping John. And then for some fucking reason, the spectators decide to have an orgy-porgy in which John also partakes, and the very next day, John apparently kills himself. I have no fucking idea what that was supposed to represent in any literary form, but I don't even think you can call that an ending. It's so fucking shit. Anyways, to conclude, A Brave New World is really just the worst possible book that could ever be written. I swear to God, almost all of what I've written thus far in my entire life has been better than this fucking book, and I'm not joking. It's such a drag to sit through, and it makes random disturbing images in your brain for no fucking reason. There's barely a message to anything in the book other than don't follow consumerism, and even then, that's not reflected in the ending whatsoever. It's literally a pile of dog shit meshed into another pile of dog shit with English teachers trying to eat up dog fecal matter, but in reality, it's just fucking shit. It's not enjoyable whatsoever, and I haven't been changed by anything in this fucking book. This just tells me that Huxley is most likely a crazy person who thank God died, because I honestly don't know what I would do if my man was still fucking alive. Also, ranting about Henry and how he would become some sort of god is, I'm just gonna be honest, is foul. No matter what Henry Ford has actually done, I think it's just fucking foul. There's no other word to describe it other than inappropriate. It's like if R.L. Stein made a Goosebumps book about Elon Musk. That would be kind of fucked up. It'd be pretty upsetting when someone's trying to live and you fucking make a book with incest and babies fucking each other and essentially saying, yeah, you did this, you'll do this in the future. Like, you can't fucking do that. I have no idea who this person is, but I'm glad I don't. God. I think the reason why the book is so fucked in its message and how it perceives society is because the fucker isn't a part of society to begin with. My man is an outcast, alright? I already said this before, but my man is essentially an outcast. And it really shows in this stupid ass book. I mean, okay, the book is just so sloppy, so random, so vile. In everything that it does, it literally has no redeemable qualities. This is most likely my least favorite book of all time because of how bad it was written. I've literally read fan fictions that were better than this book. In fact, this book is essentially just a fucking fan fiction of real life, and everyone is constantly getting fucked, alright? And I know that Huxley has like a wife and everything, but by nature, this man is bitchless. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't get no badussy either, but I think it's a little odd how there is mandated pussy in this perfect reality. They I don't know what to say about that, but that's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, a Brave New World is it's a dog shit book. It's a horrible book. Don't read it. Don't show it to a class. Take it off your curriculum. It's literally one of the worst things that has ever happened to me. But that's the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time when I'm not talking about a book.